Climate change is reshaping our home in unprecedented ways. From the scarcity of water to the devastation of floods and cyclones, millions of people are suffering the repercussions of our altered world. Some have lost their lives, homes, children, entire families. The lucky ones survive to questions of what is left and how to rebuild. Yet some are denied even that, forced to say goodbye to the land they once called home. The refugee crisis, migration, and displacement, already some of our globe's greatest challenges, with far-reaching consequences that touch every community, is only made more severe by climate change. Over 216 million people from every corner of the world could be forced to migrate by 2050, with young people across the globe being disproportionately impacted. In 2020 alone, 10 million children were forcibly displaced due to climate change, and in the last 50 years, water-related disasters have on average killed 115 people every single day. One example of a water-related issue is water scarcity. This is one of the leading causes of displacement, with water deficits linked to a 10% rise in global migration. For people impacted by drought, choosing whether to stay put or to relocate is a matter of life and death, for survival can only be achieved by migrating. Even in less extreme situations, water scarcity leads to communities being increasingly vulnerable to droughts. This also greatly impacts people's day-to-day lives and sustainable communities who are now robbed of their way of life and left unable to feed their families. Here in Pakistan, water shortage is widespread, with some 206 million people facing the very real threat of the absolute shortage of water by 2025. Water scarcity here impacts all aspects of people's lives due to the decimation of important water sources, threatening MAPAs, or most affected peoples and areas, such as communities that are fully dependent on agriculture.
पानी खना दा मथे दे जे जानवर हुआ तो गड्ढे असां हुए ते असीं पानी ले ताऊं असांजो पानी परे पानी दी असां जाम तकलीफ़ है डमड़ी ममड़ी असां मिलियल को जरी कने टूप ऐं पखा लाइ उहो ले था जाऊं उहे ते असीं गड्ढे मथे गड्ढे जानवर उहो नंढो हुओ ॾिसो था उहे त 7 गड़ा 8 गड़ा पानी रा उहे त खणी ताऊं उहो पर वीचारो अपने हिसाब सां लोॾा खातो पुॼे थो हाणे न जे नथो है तो जरी कन पियो तो असीं मथे ते खणा था मथे ते जे नथा खणा तो मंगे संगे जॾहिं जानवर मंगे आऊंदा जॾहिं जींतरो पियो ये न कहां था जींतरो ओ जरी कन भैया ईअं खणी आरो हा जरी कन ए पियो ये इहा रखां था इहा पासे रखी बीजो समूह इहा रखां ए नंढूड़ी पई ये आम सामी ॿधां था पर अकेले असीं रखिजे को थो नी ॿ माण्हू इहे खपंदा उथ जा रहे ते जाऊं था असांजो पंध लाइ तो टाइम लॻे थो कलाक लॻे जाए कलाक लॻे जाए 2 कलाक लॻे जाए पुठिया वेझाड़ा रुले जाईंदो की मारी मरे भरा की बि थिए असीं त उहे पाणी लालच ते बीठे आहियूं त उथ रस लॻी पई आहे सॼो राज भराए थो पाणी.
Chandra is just one out of over 2 billion people who don't have access to safe drinking water. Her story illustrates how water scarcity directly impacts people's daily lives, disrupting local communities and their economies, while slowly but surely eroding people's ways of life. In Chandra's case, migration, at this stage at least, isn't on the table. But with an ever-warming globe, droughts will be exacerbated, and so, for many, survival may only be achieved by migrating. Flooding and sea level rise drastically increase the likelihood that people will be internally displaced, with countless families forced to relocate as their homes are destroyed by torrents of water. Sea level rise also poses a significant risk to coastal communities, with it leading directly to increased flooding. As a result, many people may be forced to migrate from affected areas, seeking safer land further inland. Last year alone, it cost $105 billion in damages, whilst simultaneously leaving people's livelihoods and in many cases, their lives ruined. In most circumstances, flooding only leads to short-term internal displacement, which, although damaging, does not threaten the beating heart of a local community. However, if an area is constantly subjected to floods, as is likely with a changing climate and rising sea levels, then permanent patterns of displacement may emerge, leading to the complete destabilization of communities and large flows of cross-border migration.
Our worry here is just the flood issue. That is what is worrying the community currently. And maybe if we are able to solve the flood issue, then I think it will be a place to live in. In 2010, I think, this our area, we had a very big flood. Even all the roads were flooded. You can't walk or drive on the road. So everybody was, the movement of everybody was stopped until the rain, the flood, the water move away before it even enter people's houses, destroy people's food.
When it rains, the water comes inside in our wall, and we don't know what to do. It's come over and come on our compound, so we dig a hole, and the water come inside it, and we go inside to the wall and remove that water and carry it and throw it away. I'm interested in the community plan. We have to gather ourselves and talk about the community plan, so that gather together and plan about it.
When you come to look at our drains, some of the community members were sitting idly, thinking it is a work of some people. Today, I'm very happy some of them are part of the meeting. They really understand that it's not a work for some people, but all of us. Because you and I are living in the same community. When it affects you, it affects me.
To address these complex challenges, a community-based approach is essential, working to first understand their unique needs and circumstances. Members form community groups that create social maps and appoint local caretakers who play active roles in managing projects, such as establishing mangrove ecosystems. Through collaboration and shared responsibility, these community-driven strategies help build resilience and empower people to face climate-related challenges effectively. Youth play a critical role in these efforts, as they represent both the most impacted demographic as well as the driving force for long-term change.
স্বেচ্ছাসেবক মোসাম্মদ মলিদা আক্তার, তিনি গয়নার পটল চরের একজন বাসিন্দা। 2019 সালের 14 জুলাই গয়নার পটল চরে হঠাৎ পানি বাড়তে শুরু করলে মলিদা আক্তার অন্যান্য স্বেচ্ছাসেবকদের তাৎক্ষণিক ডেকে নিয়ে একটি কলার ভেলা তৈরি করেন।
আমাদের গয়নার পটলের চরটার আশেপাশে খালবিল নদী নালাতে প্রচুর পরিমাণ পানি বেড়ে যায়। তাই গত বছরে জুলাই মাসের 14 তারিখে হঠাৎ পানি বাড়তে শুরু করলো। চিন্তা এসে পড়লো যে এদেরকে কি করা যায়। তাই আমরা 10 জন ভলান্টিয়ার সহ তাৎক্ষণিকভাবে একটা কলার ভেলা তৈরি করলাম। যাদের বাড়ি খুব নিচু, তাদের বাড়িতে প্রচুর পরিমাণ পানি বেড়ে গেছে, যেন ঘরের মধ্যে পানি উঠেছে। বয়স্ক লোক, শিশু বাচ্চারা বা গর্ভবতী মায়েরা তারা খুব বিপদের মুখে ছিল। তখন আমি ওই কলার ভেলাটা নিয়ে তাদের বাসায় গেলাম। তাদের বাসায় যা তাদেরকে উঠে নিয়ে এসে আমাদের এখানে উঁচু জায়গায় বেহুলা আপার বাসার ওইখানে আমরা তাদেরকে রেখে আসলাম।
আমার বাড়িতে গত বছর পানি উঠে ডুবে গেছিল, ঘর বাড়ি তলে গেছে। মলিদা পাশা উঁচু জায়গায় কলার ভুরাই করে নিয়ে গেছে।
বাকি স্বেচ্ছাসেবকরা অন্যান্য উদ্ধার কাজে ব্যস্ত হয়ে পড়লে মলিদা আক্তার এই কলার ভেলা করে গ্রামের নিচু বাড়ির নারী, শিশু, অসুস্থ ও বৃদ্ধ ব্যক্তিদের উঁচু নিরাপদ আশ্রয় নিয়ে যেতে সক্ষম হন।
Solutions to these problems are extremely complex and require international collaboration and initiatives. Yet, in the meantime, adaptation is at the heart of the strategy of local communities for combating these problems. Migration itself is an adaptation mechanism helping to mitigate the adverse effects of disasters while also providing new opportunities and resources to affected people. However, local communities are now acting to solve their own water problems, which in the long term will hopefully prevent forced and unsafe migration.
Currently, we work in 3 major regions. We work in Africa through our African Climate Mobility Initiative. We also work in the Greater Caribbean region through the Greater Caribbean Climate Mobility Initiative, and we also work currently in the Pacific region, which is through the Western Nation Initiative. These 3 initiatives is our effort to drive meaningful solutions across these 3 regions. And we do this through supporting the fact that young people are at the center of climate mobility solutions, and we try to support some of their efforts. And this is why recently we launched the Community Climate Adaptation Facility, which is to support youth-led and local initiatives that are really targeted in addressing the issues of climate change. But beyond that, we really we just likely to help young people build the right capacity, understand their role, but more importantly to also help them make a career in the climate mobility space. This is some of our efforts to build capacity, build knowledge, drive meaningful policies, but more importantly support the work on the ground. So either it is water security, either it is forced displacement, either it is sea level rise. We are trying to build meaningful youth ecosystem to ensure that these solutions are well addressed.
We all know water is life, but when unsustainably managed, when polluted, when impacted by climate change, when contributing to disasters, it can turn into a threat for millions of people. Access to safe water, sanitation and hygiene is among the most basic human needs for health and well-being for all people, including migrants and displaced persons. People on the move find themselves at the heart of the water and sanitation crisis that is being exacerbated by climate change. At the same time, disasters, climate change and environmental degradation are reshaping both patterns of water availability and human mobility patterns through changes in rainfall patterns, droughts, floods, glacial retreats or sea level rise. IOM works across the world to further advance the role that integrated human mobility solutions can play in addressing water-related issues and the role that adaptive and integrated resources management can play for human mobility as a central element to protect populations' human rights. And here the role of youth is fundamental, and this is why IOM supports youth-led initiatives and also works to ensure that youth delegates have a space in policy forums such as COP to lead the talk. With these young leaders, we're building a foundation for a resilient future.
At the Global Water Partnership, we recognise that water is at the heart of climate challenges. The water cycle and the climate are one and the same. It's often said that if climate change is a shark, then water is its teeth. Climate's impact on water directly affects our economy, our society and our environment. When we have climate extremes, be they floods or droughts, communities sometimes have no choice but to leave their lands and migrate to other areas. Young people are often among those most affected by this phenomenon. However, we firmly believe that young people are not just passive victims, but can be positive agents of change, not just as future leaders, but as key stakeholders today in water management. By involving young people in decision making and providing platforms for their leadership, we're not only tackling today's challenges, but also building the next generation of water stewards. Together, we can turn water crises into opportunities for resilience and empowerment.
Across the world, youth are at the forefront of this movement, rising up to confront the crisis of climate change and the need for more regular migration pathways. Using our voices and actions, we can be the change that drives solutions for climate mobility issues across the globe. Join us now and make a difference.